Hey, I'm Mark.
And I'm Paulette.
And we're the two travelers in Mexico.
Hey, wait a minute. You are not the two travelers in Mexico.
We're the two travelers in Mexico.
So, now that your identity has been debunked, introduce yourselves.
All right, I'm Joe.
And I'm Brittney.
And you are from?
We're from the United States.
New York.
New York.
There you go.
Shouldn't you be pronouncing it New York?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess so. I guess we're poor examples of New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Well, some words I can tell.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got that,
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah. Yep, the first key was when he said coffee.
Coffee.
So, you guys are here in Mexico. You've been here a few times before. Why don't you give our viewers an idea of your journey and what you're doing?
So basically, Brittney and I, we've been traveling around Mexico. We started traveling around last year, and we're kind of looking for a place where we can settle down and have more of a relaxed, less work your life away lifestyle. So Mexico was on the radar because my brother actually moved to Mexico not long ago, a few years back, and he loved it, and so we thought we would check it out. We've been to a few different places, León, Guanajuato, La Paz, Querétaro,
La Piedad, Morelia.
Yeah, and so we've just been kind of taking in the beauty that Mexico has to offer and trying to figure out where it might be best for us to try to plant some roots.
So you're a little different in the typical people that we interview in that you're younger. Most of the people we interviewed have been older and retired and stuff.
Geezers like us.
Yeah. That was the alternate name for our channel, the two geezers in Mexico.
That's awesome.
But you're coming here, but you're still going to have to work, albeit online. And Joe, you do an online fitness program.
Yes, I have a YouTube channel myself. I have a couple of YouTube channels. The first one's called Joey B, where I talk about training, weight loss, bodybuilding, and things like that. And the second is actually a completely different niche. It's a jewelry channel to try to help viewers determine where they can spend their money best when it comes to that.
And we'll put links below into those channels if you want to go ahead and check them out.
Thank you.
And Brittney, you also have a channel.
Yeah,
right?
I'm I forgot.
English with Teacher Britt.
English with Teacher Britt.
Why am I here? Who are you people?
We're making sure that your editing job is as hard as possible.
So my channel.
I swear there was no alcohol involved.
None.
There wasn't.
Zero.
Not yet, anyway.
Only French toast.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called English with Teacher Britt, and on there I teach English. And I also work for an American company called Book Nook. So I work with American children. Sometimes they're at school, sometimes they're at home, and I'm a literacy tutor.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're coming to Mexico, you've been looking at real estate, looking at different cities. You have a brother, your brother already lives here in Michoacan. What precipitated this move? What gave you the idea to think, at such a young age as you young'uns are, to move to Mexico?
It was definitely his idea.
It was definitely my idea.
Okay.
But the good thing was, Brittney, is you were ready to go for the ride.
I was. Last year,
Not so much.
It took some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I went to Morelia and I saw it actually, and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, they got stuff here, and I was okay, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it just took that one trip to kind of convince you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me ask a follow-up question. What was it about that trip that convinced you? What did you see in Mexico that you thought, I got to go for this?
So my story, my answers are going to be different than Brittney's. As far as my answer to that question, I loved the culture. I loved the people. I thought that the people were warm and inviting and loving.
Right.
And so when I saw that, I was blown away because, I mean, we're coming from the U.S. No offense to the U.S., but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Much more of a cold demeanor when compared to the people we've met here.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the people don't speak our language. We don't speak their language well. And yet they're still communicating with us, getting to know us, and showing us love. And I mean, so many people we've met would probably have given us their shirts off their backs.
Right. And Paulette and I have experienced that very thing hundreds of times, countless times, really. I mean, just everywhere you go, and that's really a lot of the same reason we fell in love with Mexico, is just the culture, the people,
just the kindness,
the
generosity.
Exactly.
Like you said, they'll give you the shirt right off their back.
Yeah.
You know, you can go into the laundromat, take your stuff in there. Next thing you know, you're invited with the family for dinner that night.
Yep.
I mean, it's wild. People don't understand that concept because maybe they've never been to Mexico. Maybe they have a different image of Mexico. But you know, we've done many interviews, and here we're interviewing these two, and they're saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So there's something to it, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's just a couple of years age difference between us and them. AKA, we're probably old enough to be their parents, if not older. But,
if not their grandparents.
Yeah, if not the grandparents, yeah. So, and Brittney, what was it for you? You took a little more convincing.
I did. Let's see. So, okay, so before Morelia, we were in Leon, we were in Querétaro, we were in La Piedad. We were, like doing all that stuff, and I guess I didn't really like. I don't want to say I don't like those cities. I just didn't really. I mean, the people there are great. We have friends that live there, so it's not that. It's just I guess the vibe. I just wasn't feeling it there.
You just didn't quite feel it. But at some point, you reached a point where you did feel it.
So when we went to Morelia, it's just a beautiful city, and lots of flowers, very green, very. I mean, it had American things, so I like that.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I did like that, and
when you say American things, you mean like
Costco.
A Walmart?
Yeah, like a Walmart,
Costco.
a Home Depot, which is most of Mexico. Yeah. And it was just pretty. Like their Burger King was even it was nice. Like I mean, it was just a nice vibe, and what ended up happening is. I still actually wasn't really sure what's after the Morelia trip. And we started looking at houses. We thought about moving to Georgia. We started looking at houses in Georgia. And then maybe, I don't know if we're going to add anything to what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah, so basically what ended up happening from my perspective was Brittney was having a little trouble acclimating because she needed a softer landing than me. I was fully embracing the culture, but that's because, I don't know why, I was just embracing the culture. I found it to be beautiful, new, and unique. I think Brittney just needed a little more time to understand what that culture was like. Like she said, she liked the American things, so like the Walmarts, anything the Starbucks, anything that brought her kind of home. Because Brittney didn't necessarily just want to move out of the United States. But we wanted to, again, try to simplify, try to be able to experience new things, and so we figured, okay, maybe Mexico was it. But what ended up happening, Brittney mentioned Georgia. After the first trip, Brittney was not convinced. She said, I really don't want to go to Mexico. I said, I can't tell you to go. So it's fine. We'll look for another state, because New York is very expensive. And we also needed some better weather for Brittney, some health conditions that Brittney has. So we were looking in Georgia, we were looking here, we were looking there, and we realized that nothing compared as far as price point and in general, let's be honest, the culture, nothing compared when comparing the U.S. to Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you guys are fortunate, and you found a way to work online, and that's some of what I think prevents younger people from moving here is that they have to try to find a job online, quit their existing job, find a job online, and so I think that can be a barrier. But you guys have found a way around that, which is good. Tell me what you think about we're in San Luis. So I got to ask this question: what do you think about San Luis Potosí?
Oh, I could say so many good things.
Yeah.
Did you want to start or you want me to go? Because you look like you're about to jump in there.
The view, I know you guys can't see it, but the view that we're looking at, there's mountains.
Oh, yeah.
It's really pretty. I really like this area that we're in. It's really nice, the San Luis Potosi. And actually, the weather, we're now in February, and it's warm. It's kind of hot, actually. It's 70 degrees right now.
But this morning it was cold.
This morning it was cold. It was like 45. But yeah.
Notice they're acclimating to Mexico. Well, it's warm, if not hot out. And Joe, you're wearing a jacket. You're wearing a sweatshirt.
I am.
I mean, so.
We're Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been an experience being here because it's different. As we were talking about earlier, it's different than any other place in Mexico. Every place in Mexico is different than the next.
Right.
So there's so many beautiful, unique things about SLP that we really are enjoying, including the weather, because you have a mix of warm and cool, so you're never missing one or the other.
Right. But it's not so cold that it's snowing.
No.
And
Oh, no.
You know.
It's cold in the mornings.
Yeah.
Right now, during this time of the year. It's probably, 40 in the mornings, 45.
45.
And then it warms up around 11, 12 o'clock. You've got beautiful weather the rest of the day. And then maybe around 7 or 8, it starts to cool down again.
Right.
But, I mean, you can't beat the weather. So what kind of weather are you guys looking for? I mean, do you want to be, like, by the beach, by the oceans? Do you want to be up in the foothills? What kind of climate, I guess, are you guys looking for when you decide to set your roots? Do you know yet?
So, when we first came to Mexico last year, I still do. I like the beaches. I love beaches. I love going to the beach. I love the ocean, things like that. But I realized that it's very hot and humid pretty much all year. At least most of the year. And most of the beach places in Mexico. I think all of them. So that's when we were looking towards this kind of area. You know, like the Central Eternal Spring.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Somewhere where we don't have there's not a huge temperature swing here. Well, I would say coldest is maybe mid-40s. Highs, maybe the lower 90s. So I guess that is kind of a swing. But you're not going from freezing, snowing on the ground at 10 degrees or whatever to
like New
100
York.
degrees.
Right.
Yeah, with 100% humidity on top of that. So in that aspect, the climate here is a little more even.
Yeah, it's been really unique. Like before we came here today, I had shorts on. I went downstairs. I went right back up to put on long pants. And so once you kind of get used to it, really the cold here, it's not cold. Because back in New York, you're getting snow.
Yeah.
You're getting freezing rain. You're getting miserable winters. Here, you can have less depression, more happiness year round.
Yeah.
And it gives you something to look forward to. Because if it's always hot all year round, you want to kind of go somewhere cool.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's cool all year round, you want to go somewhere hot.
Right.
But this place, it gives you the best of all the worlds.
Right. I mean, with respect to the fact that some people, like humidity as an example, like people that come from Florida, they're used to humidity, so moving to the coast probably isn't going to bother them all that much. But
Sorry.
You okay
You
there,
okay?
Missy?
I'm okay.
it's all right.
It wasn't the heat.
We'll keep that in.
I
It
don't
wasn't
know,
a heat stroke.
No.
I don't know CPR, but I've seen it performed on TV if it comes down to it. Yeah.
I'm
So,
alive.
what else would you like to add? Just your thoughts about Mexico in general?
Yeah, sure. This has been such a privilege to be here. Paulette and Mark and Brittney and I, we were all talking earlier, talking about the privilege of being in Mexico.
Yeah.
Understanding that this is a completely different culture, and for the better. You're learning a new culture. It's a beautiful way to live, a beautiful lifestyle to experience. And so learning all the different places and speaking to the different people that we've been able to be privileged to talk to, it's been a dream that most people will never be able to attain. Well, not true. That might not even be true, but many people may not give it a shot. So that's been the greatest part about this, is the learning process. And San Luis, as mentioned before, is very different than all the other places. Some good ways, some bad ways, but overall, this would be one of the top places I would ever think to move in Mexico, really.
Right, yeah. I'm speaking for Paulette and I, but she may disagree with me later. But we agree with what you're saying. I mean, every city, we always talk glowingly a lot about San Luis, but there are some negative aspects to it too, just like any other city. As we were talking about earlier, each city that you go to in Mexico, it has its own personality.
It does.
There are the physical things like the architecture and things like that, and the celebrations that go on throughout Mexico. But within a city, there's always, it seems like, a unique personality, whether it's reflected in the culture or whether it's reflected in the artwork that you see. As Joe was talking about earlier, you see a lot of buildings like in Guanajuato that are painted brilliant colors and different areas. San Luis in the Central Historical, it's pretty, you don't see a lot of painted buildings. It's just whatever the color of the stone was that they used to construct the building.
San Miguel, you're going to find a lot of color. Like we said, Guanajuato for sure. Lots of color there.
Right.
But I don't think San Luis has that.
As an example, we were just in Puebla, and Puebla had a very French influence too. And Spanish, but a lot of French influence too.
It did. My friend Ramsey said that it reminded her a lot of New Orleans. I've never been, but talking to people there, they were saying that, it's got a very big French influence.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. And Paulette has said that if she'd seen Puebla first, she might have moved there if she's willing to forget about the active volcano and the earthquakes.
Yeah.
So maybe she's rethinking that at this point.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Brittney, what are your observations about Mexico? I mean, it took a little more convincing for you as we talked about, but what do you see? What are the major draws for you to come to Mexico?
Sorry, I have a hairball still in me.
He's all choked up
Got a
about
fur
this.
ball?
I am. Yeah.
Believe me, meeting the two travelers in Mexico, the real ones, is nothing to get choked up about.
Okay, so well, if we're talking about Mexico, the country in general, the weather's very good, generally speaking. When you're in the central part of Mexico, and even when you're by the beaches, it's pretty. You got the waves, you got the sand. It's beautiful, and so that could be a draw. And another one is, a big draw is that Mexico, even though there's inflation happening around the world, is that it's still generally, I think, for the most part, cheaper than the U.S. to live.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, there's inflation going on in Mexico too, but because of the way that the peso is valued, it's still going up like inflation anywhere else, but 10% of a lower value is a lot better than going up inflation 10% of a higher value.
But still, all in all, the cost of living in Mexico compared to living somewhere in the United States is, you figured it out. What is it, like 60% less? 50%? I don't know.
Originally, when I was sort of mapping out the move here financially, I figured we could live here on about 40% of what it took to live in the U.S. Since I revised that a little, I think we could do it, or we're doing it on about 35% of what it costs to live in the U.S.
Wow.
However, I should also mention that San Luis is probably a little more expensive than some of the other cities. I think it's a little more expensive than Morelia, as an example, but I don't think it's as expensive as, say, San Miguel or Oaxaca, and certainly not Mexico City. So there's that to consider too, which cities are going to more financially suit your budget too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we spoke to a barista. It really depends on what you're looking at. So, for example, maybe in SLP it'll be a little more expensive for A, B, or C, whereas Mexico City might be a little less expensive for A, B, or C.
Right.
So it really depends on where we're going. So we've noticed, Brittney and I have noticed, this is not by any means the least expensive place in Mexico, but it shows, and it stands to reason. The reason why is because the infrastructure is so good. The places that we visited are extremely safe.
Yeah.
The how well manicured the area is.
You're talking about
SLP.
SLP.
Yeah. This place stands out from so many other places that we've seen in the way that it's structurally sound. It's almost to the point where, when compared to other cities, of course, in Mexico, it's almost as if, depending on where you are living in SLP, because it's huge, you may feel like you are in the United States to a very large degree, except in a much more beautiful United States.
Yeah.
But we ran into a barista the other day, and she actually said Mexico City, for a majority, is actually cheaper, which our minds were blown.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But our minds were blown because we thought Mexico City was very expensive, a lot of expats. But after being here for the time that we've been here, we have noticed those prices are very high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys in an Airbnb, or where are you staying right now?
Airbnb.
Okay, and can I ask you what you're paying for rent there?
Yeah.
So something that I like to do when I'm going on Airbnb is I don't like to accept the price that they give me, because a lot of the times the Airbnbs, they throw all these taxes and these fees, and then by the time you add the taxes, the fees, and all these other service charges, it's like the same cost as like I don't know, like a couple of days of renting the Airbnb. So expensive. So what I did was I asked for a price that I wanted, and I reached out to the woman. She gave me her number, and I said I want it for 13,000 pesos, and that's the price that I got it for.
And for what was the time period in that? 30,
for a month?
For a month?
What?
Oh, so I think 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks,
Yeah.
okay.
3 weeks.
But we're getting 2 full bathrooms, 2 half bathrooms. We have 2 bedrooms, and we have an office, and I also have... I'm sorry, you want to ask me?
Well, I was just going to say, if you guys wanted, you can check out our 3rd YouTube channel. It's mostly made for our family and friends, but we put out a video on that channel with our apartment tour. So you can see the exact place we're living and all that. And the 3rd YouTube channel is called Chasing the American Dream. We can, I guess, put it in the description.
Yeah, I'll put links to those channels in the description.
We have parking. We have a man. He's great. His name is Don Roberto. He watches the cars at night. We have an elevator. We have stairs. We have a garden. It gets taken care of. Yeah. There's something else we had too, and I forgot what it was.
There's a lot. So
washer and dryer.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's huge. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. Other than that, you're going to the lavanderia, or you're just wearing real stinky clothes after.
Right.
Yeah.
Or washing them in the sink like I've done before when we've been places traveling and there's no washer and dryer. I just get out the soap from the sink and wash my clothes, and if it's nice, I hang it outside and it's dry in a couple of hours.
Nice.
And hopefully there's no wind, so your clothes aren't like 3 stories down laying on pavement somewhere.
Which has happened before.
Oh,
Right.
So,
Yeah. That happened with my underwear once.
Oh, no.
Man.
It was pretty funny.
Wow.
Kind of embarrassing, but it was funny at the same time.
Yeah, it's Mexico. They're probably used to it.
yeah.
So you guys are going to make Mexico your home?
That's what it looks like. So we're taking it nice and easy. We're not making any commitments, but we do believe that we will end up in Mexico permanently. We're currently here for at least minimum a year.
Okay.
So we'll be hanging out here for a year, checking out other areas, kind of continuing to put together in our minds where might be the best place.
Right.
We're heading... I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we're heading to Guadalajara next. And after that, we were going to go back to Morelia, and then we're probably going to come back right here to SLP.
But I should mention that you've taken the initial step of getting your temporary residency.
Oh, that's right.
So you don't have to do a border run in every 6 months. So you qualified for that. And then it seems like you guys are pretty firmly committed to getting the 3-year residency after that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't move here right away, it's still a good thing to have, because then that frees you up to be able to move here without having to qualify for anything.
The sooner the better, because the prices... Mexico is to many people looked at as like a third world country, and Americans go there to live real cheaply. That's far from the truth.
Yeah.
This place does not really need you if you're an American. It maybe at one point.
Right.
But now they can be very picky with who they choose to allow into their country, and every single year the prices are going up for that residency.
Right. Not what you're charged necessarily, but the qualifications for
The
that
qualifications,
residency
right.
are going up by about 20% a year.
Which is a substantial.
Uh-huh. So each year it's, unfortunately, if you're in the United States and if you're borderline now, probably by next year you won't make the qualifications.
Right.
So that's something to consider too. Paulette and I always tell people, if you're thinking about coming to Mexico with some kind of residency, qualify now.
Yep.
Even if that move is 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, whatever it might be, qualify for it now, and it'll be easier for you in terms of proving your financial viability later on.
Right, and if you can qualify for permanent now, just do it. You have nothing to worry about. You can go back. You can go back to the States wherever you're at. You can live there for 3-4 years, whatever you want to do, 10 years, come back to Mexico, visit in between, whatever. Once you have your permanent, you have your permanent. That's all there is to it. You can leave, you can stay, you can go away for 5 years. It doesn't matter.
So.
Yeah.
And the other question I have to ask you is, did you experience, like when you told your relatives, we're going to move to Mexico, or your friends, Paulette and I go, oh my God, you're going to be killed 10 minutes after crossing the border.
Or kidnapped.
Or kidnapped and held for ransom, and then which our relatives immediately said, we're not your ransom paying people, so don't let them call us. Did you guys experience anything like that, or?
Yes, and that's actually why we started our third YouTube channel, to ease the minds, hopefully. As to where we are, what we're doing, are we okay? Because our family in the United States, you only hear horrible things about Mexico. In Mexico, you don't see or hear any horrible things. Not to say that bad things don't happen, but when you really compare the United States to Mexico, there's much worse things happening back at home than there are here. So tons of people fearing for our lives. Brittney and I, because we took our previous trip, we were well aware that we don't have to worry. We found nothing but love from the Mexican people, and we're so grateful for that. But yeah, we've experienced it, but I would not tell you guys to worry too much. There is a learning curve, but the Mexican people make it so easy to come to their country and enjoy it that you really don't have to worry about too much.
They're very welcoming.
Like a lot of times when Paulette and I meet someone on the street, we'll get Mexicans that'll come up to us and they realize that we're, from another country, the U.S. or whatever, and they'll just want to talk to us to practice their English. And almost always at the end of the conversation, they say something like, thank you for coming to my country, thank you for moving to my country. And they say it and mean it. It's not just something that they're throwing out there. They actually mean it. Mexico's a very welcoming country.
And I feel very blessed to be here. I really do.
Same here. Same here. It's been nothing but good so far. And one of the greatest parts about our trip here is meeting you guys. And thank you guys for having us.
I'd like to point out, no money exchanged hands for them saying that they willingly volunteered that.
Not yet.
Not yet. We did. They contacted us a few months ago, and we chatted a little bit online. They're subscribers of ours, which I hope, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we're hoping that you will, of course. But they were subscribers of ours. They decided to come down to Mexico, and one of their stops was going to be San Luis. And so, thankfully, we were able to meet up and talk and get to know each other better, And you guys are only going to be in San Luis a few more days, and then you're going. But when you come back, we'll get to hang out some more.
I look forward to it. Yeah.
So
definitely.
Something I'd like to add about the San Luis Potosi city is that it's very, there are very nice things about it. Like the police cars, they're very nice. A lot of them look new. They're like green and black, and
We haven't seen the back of one yet.
We haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't been in
Yeah.
one. I hope we never are.
Yeah.
In that one. But if we were gonna be in one,
Then I guess,
this one is
I
kind
guess
of
that
nice.
would be like a nice one.
But the sidewalks here are very. I think Joe touched on this. The sidewalks are very well taken care of compared to a lot of different parts of Mexico that we've traveled. The sidewalks are very nice, and like everybody's mentioned before, the people are very nice, and the weather's very nice. So if you haven't already, you should definitely come here, visit.
No, people don't want you to say that because a lot of our subscribers say, "Don't tell them about San Luis,"
Right.
because it's basically off the radar. It's not an expat community. I'm just kidding you.
Oh.
But basically, it's off the radar. It's not your San Miguel. It's not your Ajijic. It's not your Lake Chapala. It's not, I don't know, other places. You know, it's not La Paz. It's not Playa del Carmel. It's not Puerto Vallarta.
Where exactly is Playa del Carmel? Is that between Mexico and the actual Carmel in California?
All right, smarty pants.
Uh-huh.
But anyhow, you know, there's just so much in Mexico. There's 32 states in Mexico. I mean, you've got your choice, you know, and in each of those states, there's so many different places to explore. I mean, you could spend probably your whole lifetime here checking out Mexico alone and forget about traveling outside of Mexico.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true.
I mean, it's got something for everybody, I think. You know?
Yeah.
Just depends what you're looking for.
Yeah. It's kind of like walking into a donut shop and you know you can't get all the donuts, but you want to try to experience every single one. So it makes it very difficult. So in a way, I just want to say, you know what? I'm here in SLP. This place is amazing. I want to stay here. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's also this place and this place and this place. Maybe we should look at it. So,
And I think that's the best way to do it, actually, when you're looking for a place to settle.
Right.
You know, don't make a commitment and just rent furnished and check out all these different areas. You know, if you find one that you really like, then let's say that your main place is in Morelia right now. Okay, so you're traveling outside of Morelia, going on different trips. Let's say you go to, I don't know, someplace, and you really like it. So make another trip, you know, check it out. See if it was as good as it was the first time.
Right.
If you're still not sure, then make a third trip.
Right.
Yeah, if
You know,
still
there's
have,
just,
if you still have the same feel about it.
Right.
yeah, you know, and you're committed to where you're at for that 6 months or a year, so, you know, no skin off your nose or anybody else's. You're just looking, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Although, since your mention of donuts, I've got this Homer Simpson thing now going where that's all I'm thinking about is donuts. But
I don't blame you. Now I'm thinking about donuts.
yeah,
They have, by the way, I think they have Krispy Kreme here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
they
have
do.
Krispy Kreme. They also have a Dairy Queen
yeah,
here.
Dairy Queen, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to go to the Dairy Queen here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
They have McDonald's here too. Something for everybody.
Soft
And they have
landing.
with Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Burger King.
Yeah.
Although we've kind of discovered that the fast food prices here, Burger King, Carl's Jr., McDonald's, not that we frequent those places by any means, they're as
About the same
expensive
price.
as in the United States from what I've seen.
Same thing with the Walmarts.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
most
And the
part.
bubble tea mostly.
Yeah, most of this. So like, I'm like almost purely Mexican, and Brittany's still like half Mexican. So I'll be eating like tacos all week, but Brittany's gonna be getting like the Americanized food.
Right.
So in that sense, it's good to be in a place where you can have an
Yeah.
option.
So speaking of food options, Joe, you're vegan.
Yeah.
So how are you getting by in Mexico? What are you eating in
Because
Mexico?
tacos are usually meat.
Yeah. So all throughout Mexico, that we've found that they are very. So you have what vegans call vegan food, but then you have normal food that is just vegan. Mexico has so many options for vegan people, even if they don't know that they have them.
Right.
You have vegetable tacos. You have different types of pastas. So many options. But then you also have, throughout all the states that we've been in, they've always had dedicated vegan restaurants where they'll make plant protein.
Yeah.
We found one here. I think it's
Wow.
called Bee Life Burger or Bee Love Burger, something along those lines. It's on Carranza. That's one of the few, like maybe 5 specific vegan places you can go for desserts, meals, plant protein, vegetables, food that tastes incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
100% vegan.
100%.
Right.
So it's been very easy.
And we do have stores here now, like La Comer Fresca. Especially, they have entire sections of their store dedicated to the vegan lifestyle.
Right.
So that's always good too. I mean, typically when you think of Mexico and food, you think there's going to be some carne involved.
Taco Tuesday,
Taco
day.
Tuesday, yeah. But it doesn't have to be that way. Although sometimes if you get a taco and you tell them, you know, that you don't want any meat, they look at you like you're crazy.
Right.
But you know, that is what it is.
I mean, and there were times that we went to restaurants and I would tell them, you know, like no carne, you know, whatever. And it didn't matter. Like I would open it and there it is.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of hit or miss, you know.
So I ordered potatoes the other day at a great restaurant that we went to.
Papas?
Yeah, Papas.
Okay.
So I asked them, this is going to be horrible. Tienes papas fritas.
Okay.
Right?
Fried potatoes.
So do you
You
have
have fried potatoes.
So do you have fried potatoes? They pointed to a dish. I said, okay, this one looks good. But sin leche, sin carne, sin mantequilla, which is butter. I end up getting it, and there's butter in it. So I asked him, I said, do you mind just taking this back? Papas fritas sin mantequilla. He said, oh, sin mantequilla. Sí. Okay. And I got my potatoes without the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Easy enough.
You know.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
It's different. Like you said, some people will look at you twice and they'll wonder, did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
And then some people, they just know already.
Yeah. Or they give you that look that makes me kind of think, okay, was the thought in that guy's head, is it now loco gringo? You know, sin carne, loco gringo?
Right.
So.
Well, I think maybe vegan is catching on more too. You know, like everywhere. I think it's catching on in Mexico.
Yeah, you just have to look a little bit harder in some cases, and you have to be very definite about what you're asking for.
Right. And you also have to understand that's a different culture and a different language.
Yeah.
So if you get the wrong thing or they don't understand what you're saying,
right.
there was no harm intended. This is just you needing to learn and experience a different culture and how they do things.
Right.
You cannot expect to come anywhere in Mexico, even in Cabo, which is this huge tourist destination. Don't expect to come here and have this be like the United States. This is its own country, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
And you, in my opinion, should be humble enough to learn about its culture and be humbled to be here.
Life will be a lot easier for you if you at least begin to adopt a Mexican culture, even if you don't completely understand it.
Right.
Paulette and I are, like I said before, are works in progress as far as that goes. We're trying to understand it better. We don't get all of the culture by any means, but you know, we're always open to learning new things and new experiences, especially culturally, because Mexico is such a culture-oriented country with their different celebrations that they do and different things. We'll go down to the you know, some of the Zócalos in Centro Historical, and sometimes there'll just be a whole ritual dance thing going on, and we appreciate the beauty and the spectacle of it, but we don't always understand what this dance is about.
Right.
Or what the celebration might be about.
And hopefully we will at some point, so that'll just make us appreciate the beauty even more.
Right.
You know.
But for now, we just embrace Mexico in all.
Yeah.
You know, we might not understand a lot of things still, but we just soak it all in, we embrace it. And so that would be what I would leave you guys with, is if you come to Mexico, just embrace it.
Yeah.
I agree. Embrace it. Enjoy the people, because they're going to enjoy you. They don't have to, but they do.
They do. Yeah.
And it's been great for us so far. And thank you. I just want to say thank you both for your channel, for being so honest and open and helpful in learning about the culture here and trying to alleviate some of the stigma about moving.
Oh, thanks.
So up to about 500 pesos now, right?
Maybe 600.
600? Yeah, well, okay, you're going to have to smile a little more when you're talking about it.
We need to put gas in the car. It's more expensive here for gas.
That's right. These guys drove here.
From New York. And
4 days.
New York plated car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't experience really any trouble. Had a couple of immigration stops, but that was about it.
Oh, do you mind?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say something that I did was I bought a camera for the car.
Uh-huh.
I made sure it was a big obnoxious camera that everybody and anybody will see if they look at my car. It's interior, it captures all the sides of the car, it costs a couple $100. And I feel as though if you have any what would the word be? Apprehension about driving here, get one of those, it'll ease your mind a lot.
Yeah.
We haven't experienced any problems, not saying you need a camera, but it will help ease your mind in case there's any emergencies, any kind of misunderstanding on the road, anything like that.
Yeah.
But we've seen nothing so far, but I don't know, it's just been fantastic.
Yeah.
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 And I think if you get stopped by people that are looking for cash, you know, you're being stopped and they're saying, oh, you did this and you didn't do it, which has never, by the way, in over 3 years happened to Mark and I. But it can happen, you know, where they're wanting money from you, extortion. If they see a camera in the car, they definitely think twice
Yeah.
about their actions.
Right?
As always, from the two travelers in Mexico,
What she did.